Thank you, Sir Chair. Let me tell you first what I was saying at the beginning. You can find me at any church in Mandeville, Louisiana on any given Sunday. I'm very religious, and I just want to point out that this is in absolutely no way an attack on any religion whatsoever. But I feel it is best for society if religious organizations participate in the federal revenue system like any other business. Certainly I don't diminish the many charity works and socio-economic benefits that churches and other religious organizations provide. It's important to know that under my proposal, just like any other standard business, they'll be able to offset some of their tax burdens through these proper deductions. Nonprofit organizations are different from churches when dealing with the IRS because while nonprofits must show proof of their service or charity to society, the IRS does not check whether churches are fulfilling their service back to the society while they are automatically given tax exemption status. This opens an entire gateway to how clergymen and church officials run their own religions respectfully. Let me read you now the quote of a man by the name of L. Ron Hubbard, who once said, "The way to make $1 million is to start a religion." And oh boy, that former science fiction writer started his own religion, and I don't know if y'all know, but it's doing pretty well off right now. Now the Church of Scientology that Mr. Hubbard created could be right, and they so have every right to believe anything that they teach in the church. But I find it hard when I see top leaders making money only a businessman wishes he could make. For too long in this country, shrewd and calculating men and women have used this exemption to their own profit. It's time to ensure that these broads are no longer able to live a tax-free life of luxury in the name of religion. And as a religious person myself, I found this abuse offensive and immoral. In order to keep these groups in check, I urge you to pass this proposal. And before I conclude, I also urge y'all to write an amendment to eliminate the sentences from 16 to 19. I seem to have made a mistake. That should not be in there, and anyone that can take it out would make this proposal much better. I thank the chair, and I reserve the rest of my time for my closing statements.
Thank you, Sir Chair. DJ Yuan's family of Alabama. I stand before you as someone who strongly opposes this proposal. The church and state are completely separate from each other, but the Amendment 1 of the Constitution publicly stating that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. By taxing these groups, the government is respecting them as well. Why should religious institutions be forced to pay to the federal government and organizations that have no correlation to? The United States government is a secular organization, may I remind you, while the church is the antithesis of that. Ladies and gentlemen, although it was stated in the proposal that the federal government would receive over $1 trillion from this taxing, I ask you to not just think this from a monetary point of view, but to also see it from a social one as well. Our religious organizations are supported purely through acts of goodwill and generous donations by its members. And if the IRS still started knocking on the door saying that they're going to tax them, what will the members think? If I found out that the money I was giving to the church went to the government, I would be furious. Would you too? But I ask you this. I see the economic benefit, but have we Americans really sunk to such a low point that we actually start asking our religious organizations for money? That point, I believe, is too pathetic for the United States of America to tolerate. If the federal government starts taxing churches and other groups, that would spell the end of many of these. For one, it would be an enormous amount of paperwork for the IRS due to the huge number of religious organizations that are in the U.S. This would all be a total waste. Yes, some huge churches can easily survive the taxing, but what about the small ones that are in the mountains, in the rural areas, and the ones that struggle to get by week by week? These places of worship would go bankrupt, and their believers will have no place to go to worship their God or God. Lastly, my fellow delegates, I ask you this. Would you tax God? Remember, the true definition of a church is not a building. It is not a building, ladies and gentlemen. It is a body of believers who have come together to worship their God or God and to learn about loving others and to learn about other endowment lessons of life. If this tax is implemented, the number of members will surely go under. So the next time you are praying, would you pray, God, please help our church survive the taxing that our government is imposing on us? I wouldn't. As a conclusion, I can see that although our government would greatly benefit the trading, it would hurt our religious institutions much more than do good. I love God, ladies and gentlemen, and I know that the author of this proposal loves him as much as I do. However, I strongly disagree with this proposal because it will destroy core values and is highly unconstitutional. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to vote no to this proposal. And if this degradation of church power and influence of human power over divine power continues, fellow delegates, there will be a very big
Gentleman's time
surprise.
has elapsed.
Benjamin Corman, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I'd like to bring up an awful religious organization. I'm thinking of Reverend Phelps in the Westboro Baptist Church. For those of you who do not know who they are a church that preaches hate, fear, and they want to rid the earth of homosexuals. In fact, because of the liberal nature of my school, they come to protest in front of our building at least once a year, only to be shouted at by 2,000 students and parents. Now, if it were up to me, I would tax them. But I can't, because they are a church. They pay the same amount of taxes as my local animal shelter back home. The problem is that unlike my animal shelter, this church does not help anyone. They cause pain, and I don't want to exempt organizations that spread such a message. Unfortunately, this church is only one of the many out there that spread hate, scam the innocent, or are only made for monetary gain, like the proposal sponsor had mentioned earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, this proposal doesn't prevent religion at all. In fact, it promotes it. This is a religion that spreads messages of love and looks out for those in need. This is real religion, and if a church decides to follow this type of practice, then by all means, they can easily gain the honorable status as a non-profit organization. The real genius in this proposal is that it prevents the abuses in the system and ensures that religion sticks to the great messages preached by Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Muhammad, and all the rest. Thank you, and I urge you to vote in favor of this proposal to ensure that religion continues to move the society forward.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Matthew King, Washington delegation. Well, I agree that some churches out there do spread hate, do spread fear. There are many, many others that spread love and happiness and joy. And another point that was brought up in the opening statements was that we don't want to see preachers or priests or anything driving Lamborghinis or with houses on hills and whatever. Does this mean that we don't pay them at all? Because, I mean, if we don't pay them, then they won't even come to church. They won't be able to spread the word, and we won't have anybody to spread the word for us. So, while I do agree that some churches are out there to spread hate, to spread fear, they are severely outnumbered at the churches who are out there just to spread love and joy and happiness and peace to all. And I feel that taxing all these churches will just limit religious spread and bring out a deeper recession for this country. Thank you.